too?
Do you like maps? How about a detailed hand-drawn map that reflects your favorite people, places, and things? Visit Cartograph Me on Instagram or Facebook and see the possibilities in the works of artist Philip Bailey. Remember, Cartograph Me, putting you on the map. Great, the goddamn hippies are moving in. There goes the neighborhood. Let's Scare Jessica to Death starts now.
Calling on all the spirits of everyone who's ever died in this house.
Paramount Pictures presents Let's Scare Jessica to Death.
Jessica. Who are you? Why have you been following me?
I'm in your butt. You want to die. Go on. You want to die.
Let's Scare Jessica to Death. The screen has captured cold, deadly horror before, but this time it's all turned loose in your direction.
Leave me!
Will you be quiet? I hear you! Let's Scare Jessica to Death. Rated GP.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the It Slays podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
It's Exilia.
And it's your moldy library book, Mike.
And the date is Tuesday, May the 18th, this year of our Lord 2021. We decided to add that in for you, so when you guys realize how slow I am at editing, you can just, I guess, continue to think I'm a piece of shit.
That turned really dark really quick.
Really dark really quick. It's like the Tim Robbins skit, the Instagram posting, where it's like, hanging out with my friends.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Have you watched that show, Mike?
Oh my God.
I have not.
Oh.
These references are going over my head, I'm sorry.
We've watched it like
a million
so
times.
many times. It's funny every fucking time.
Anyone listening that hasn't watched, what's it called? Thank You.
I don't even remember.
I can't remember what it's called.
Thank You Next.
No.
Thank You.
The album by Ariana Grande.
No. I'll tell you.
Exilia's gonna search it. Well, see, she searches it. I will say it's Tim Robbins.
No, Tim Robbins is the guy from the Green Mile.
What's
Isn't
Tim
it
Robbins?
Tim Robbins
From Reservoir Dogs?
No, Tim Robbins.
Guys, who are we talking about?
What is going on
I
right
don't
now?
understand what's happening.
I think you should leave now.
Yeah, I think you should leave now by Tim
Oh,
Robinson.
that sketch show.
Yeah.
The sketch show.
Yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about.
It's fucking...
Because you said Tim Roth show at the beginning of this.
And Andy said
so that
Tim Robbins.
completely threw me off, yeah.
Yeah, so if you haven't watched it, it's hilarious. He was on Saturday Night Live and was a writer for them. And he had that Detroiter show. But me and Exilia watch it all the time. It's hilarious.
We've probably seen it like 50 times at least.
It's so good. I might watch it after I'm done here. Who knows? It's pretty funny. I probably won't. I'm just saying that to show off, I guess.
Oh my God. Okay. Thank you for being so self-aware.
Being self-aware.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long time, though, we all have drinks, because
Yes.
if for some reason you're a listener and you don't have us written in your calendars, it is Mr. Mike's birthday tomorrow.
Woo!
Woo!
Yay. Good for me. I was born.
Congratulations.
This took a lot of skill. I need to be feted every year.
You were born and selected for this life we call the Hunger Games.
I am still alive, so cheers to that. Honestly, it is May 2021 that any of us are still here. Like, let's be thankful for him.
True.
That's right. But I think we should do a throwback.
Can we do the sponsorship?
Yeah, what are we drinking? And we definitely aren't officially sponsored.
This is a fake sponsorship.
It's a fake sponsorship.
Yeah, it's a pseudo sponsorship.
It's us sponsoring the companies with our likes.
So yeah, let's throw this back and hope one of these companies hear us and just want to give us free booze.
I'm 100%. I will whore myself out for alcohol, so hit me up. I'm a cheap date.
What are you drinking, Mike?
I decided to bust open a bottle of Tenuta Santana, and that's spelled SANT''ANNA.
Oh.
Extra dry Prosecco, because I'm obviously not going to get real champagne because I work in retail, so that's not really going to happen. But I can get fake champagne, and we love some extra dry Prosecco, so I decided to start celebrating early and pop that baby open. What are you guys imbibing tonight?
Rowan, what about you?
So, like I said, hopefully one of these companies hears us. So I am only drinking the most expensive bottle of Patron possible. No, that's not true at all. I am drinking Bulwark Cider, and it is winter themed. It is infused with cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
And it's made here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, made in Nova Scotia. All more reason for you to send me large quantities.
I am drinking fermented seltzer from Good Robot called The Fizz. I think that's like the series of fermented seltzers. And it's Moon Mist flavor. So for anybody from Nova Scotia, you know Moon Mist. If you're not from Nova Scotia, it sounds gross, but it's good. It's a mix of...
It sounds wonderful.
It's a mix of banana ice cream, bubblegum ice cream, and grape ice cream. And this is made by Good Robot in Halifax. And it tastes ridiculously like Moon Mist ice cream.
I like that went nicely.
What?
Because for some reason, I was just really expecting, like, oh, if you're from Nova Scotia, like, you know what it is. If you're not from Nova Scotia, fuck you.
Fuck you. Get on our level.
Yeah.
I mean, your level, obviously.
Yeah. It's not very high.
I am not on your level, yeah.
It's not hard to reach us. We're only about a foot off the ground.
That's very generous.
Oh, look, it says, yeah, right here. It has a description for all the people not from Nova Scotia, and it has an explanation of what Moon Mist ice cream is.
So there you go.
And it has a super cute can.
But don't come to Nova Scotia to buy it and give us all coronavirus.
Already happened.
Yeah.
To be fair, if they come to Nova Scotia, they're probably going to get it.
True. Our borders are like completely closed.
We are shut down.
Yeah.
Good. The only cases we get are from travel, so it's a smart thing to do.
But I will let you guys know, I actually have a question for this film.
Oh, nice.
I guess not film, but for you guys.
And gals.
And gals. So, my question for you guys is, what scares you?
Well, from this week, I can give you an example. Getting in my shower at 7 o'clock in the morning, getting under the water, in there, got the curtain closed, totally naked and vulnerable, looking up over on the ceiling above where the shower head is, and there's a fucking big-ass goddamn huge fist-size spider making a web on my ceiling right over my head in the shower. I literally was like, that's it, I'm not going to work, I'm catching this house on fire, I'm moving away, like...
What I like to envision as you tell this story is that if we all got to see it play out in real time, that it's like a baby spider or something. And...
Okay, listen, it came up from the drain, and I will say I squealed. It was actually more of a squeal. It was very high-pitched and reverberating.
So you didn't feel like John Goodman in Arachnophobia?
I felt like every other person in Arachnophobia. Honestly.
How about you, Exilia? What scares you?
Okay, I'm just going with whatever popped into my head, but hitting an animal when I'm driving.
It's so funny that you bring that up, because I was thinking, I don't drive, but I was thinking about that the other day, because I was thinking about my friend's father giving her the advice, obviously because we have a lot of wildlife when you're driving on the highway that runs across the road, and he was saying, like, it doesn't, because I thought I saw a dead animal on the road, and I was going to tell the person driving the car, like, oh my god, pull over, there's like a dog there. And they're like, you cannot jam on the brakes when you see an animal, because you will actually kill yourself.
Yeah.
So it's better to just, unfortunately, like, hit the animal. So when you see a dead animal, you got to think, like, that's somebody that didn't go off the road and kill their whole family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, during driver's lessons or driving school, we got a big lecture about how if you drive, you have to be okay with killing animals.
Yeah.
And there's so much
driving a non-vegan practice.
Yeah. Well, and there's so much roadkill on the road here. And actually, what was it last week? The raccoon?
Yeah.
There was like a raccoon just laying on its stomach in the middle of the road by our house. And I think it had distemper, based on just my vague assessment of the situation. And we were driving down the hill, didn't see it, and it looked up and its eyes were like glowing at us, and I was like, oh my god, ah! And like actually screamed, and it just like looked up and just stayed laying there, and Rowan swerved, and it really slowly went to the side of the road. It was horrific.
I said we probably thwarted its attempt to kill itself.
Suicide. Distemper is actually like a really brutal disease, so I kind of feel bad we didn't kill it.
Yeah.
It's a good thing it lived. That was a happy thing.
For us.
For us. Maybe not so much for it.
Yeah.
We don't know the mind state it was in. So what scares me? Mine is definitely, bugs. Spiders, I hate spiders. I also shriek at spiders.
Do y'all want to know a fun fact about daddy longlegs?
Sure.
Daddy longlegs aren't spiders.
I don't.
They aren't. Daddy longlegs are arachnids, like spiders are, but daddy longlegs are actually
demons.
They're far more similar to a scorpion than a spider.
Oh, that's nice.
I believe that.
I believe there's...
They seem so innocent,
I
though.
believe they're scorpions from hell.
Daddy longlegs are like the Eeyores of this arachnid world.
Exilia...
Did you just say that out loud?
Exilia is gonna have her own side cast, like 10,002, an arachnid podcast.
Insect podcast.
Insects.
That'd be sweet.
Well, y'all, I think it's time to get into this main event. The old Let's Scare Jessica to Death, 1971. Mike, do you want to hit us with that bio?
I sure will. Okay, so according to our brilliant friend Letterboxd, Let's Scare Jessica to Death is Nightmare or Sanity. Which is which? Newly released from a mental ward, Jessica hopes to return to life the way it was before her nervous breakdown. But when Jessica moves to a country house with her husband and close friend, she finds a mysterious girl living in there who may or may not be a vampire. Jessica's terror and paranoia resurface as evil forces surround her, making her wonder, are the visions real, or is she slipping back into madness? ? Period.
You don't even have to watch the movie now.
Right? It's literally the whole movie is laid out for you. It's
I like that.
It's a choice. Letterboxd, it's a choice.
So, I had written down, directed by John D. Hancock. I wonder how many bad, like, I Need You John Hancock jokes that they told him.
Probably a lot.
And I mean, listen, anybody with cock in their name it's doomed. Like, just, that's the way it is.
Imagine if your name was like Dick Cox or something.
Dick Cox? I mean, you know there definitely is something.
There definitely is.
I was gonna say, and you know, we adore you, but y'all are laughing, so... Oh my god, y'all. Trending in Canada on Twitter is Prince Albert, that's all I'm saying. Speaking of Dick Cox.
Terrible. I didn't have anything written down for him, because I don't know. I don't know anything this guy's done. Apparently he made, like, a baseball movie.
Wasn't he, like, a theater director? I think he was a theater director.
I think so. I feel like this is all we really care about. This film.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Well, let's get into it. You know what we're hitting you guys with? Favorite scene. Exilia, you go first.
Okay. Well, my favorite scene is the closing credits.
If you guys can see the angry face that Mike is making.
No, it's not angry. It's like, that's my girl.
The shade
I'm
has
hyping
been...
her up. No, it's not shade.
Yeah.
I am basking her in like the most sunlight I can drench her with right now, because that's my girl. Her taste.
I take it she'll leave it at that. I take it you're not going to tell.
I mean, I'll expand later.
You'll expand later. How about yourself, Mike?
Well, I have two. One of them was actually, and this is why I love X's answer so much. One of them is actually the opening scene. And because the opening scene and the final scene are really the same scene. But we just get it from a slightly different angle, right? Other than the opening, I guess, / closing scene, it would be the scene where, like, it all kind of turns around and, like, hits a crisis point, which is when Jessica and Emily are out swimming and she dunks her under the water a couple times, and then when she comes up, she's the, like a Victorian girl.
The vampire.
The girl from the photo, yeah. And I just, like, I thought that was so fucking brilliant, and it really, like, shifted the movie a little bit in a way that, like, it had been kind of like, I don't say this in an insulting way, but it had been treading water as to, like, what was happening, and that kind of, like, really got the ball rolling. And so I thought that was, like, a really creepy, cool, very important key scene, and it just creeped the shit out of me, so I was a big fan of it.
I do have a comment about that scene. I really love, it must have been, I don't know where this was filmed, but it looks like it was probably filmed in, like, New England, or, like...
I think it was New England, yeah.
Because it looks very much like here. And I love the fall leaves, like... It's one of my favorite things. And they must have been freezing, because in order for the leaves to change like that, it had to have been
It would
chilly.
have to be in the fall, yeah.
Yeah. I feel bad for them.
But, like, the results are, speak for themselves. Like, it was such a cool scene.
I was waiting for Exilia to say, do they speak for themselves?
But what about you, Ro? Tell us more.
So, I guess my favorite scene, it's kind of one main scene, but I guess it kind of sidebars into a lot of scenes. I loved kind of the climax at the end where she's like in bed and like all the townspeople are in the room and there's just like this manic, like claustrophobic feeling. The camera work is, like, amazing in that scene. Like, just really bizarre angles and stuff so that you're kind of disoriented and, you kind of know what's going on. But even at that point, like, we're still not, like, 100% sure. Like, through the entire movie, that, like you said in the bio, we're questioning, is this in her mind? Is this real? Like, are they going to pull a fast one at the end of the movie?
Yeah.
And be like, oh, this is all fake. And then where I was saying it kind of breaks off and the stuff I like everything that involved, like, the townspeople.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done, just, like, how awkward everything was, how whenever we dealt with, like, the old men in the middle of town, we got those weird camera shots. So, even when the movie's kind of starting, we're just like, this is weird. Like, these guys are weird. They're bizarre. And I loved everything about that part. I did want to say with kind of the townspeople, that's also probably where I first noticed how terrible some of the dubbing in this was. Because there definitely was a lot of talking when mouths weren't moving, which, I don't know. I think at first, whenever I see that, I'm kind of like, this is going to be pretty bad, but I thought it kind of added, like, an endearing quality to it. Like, I mean, it was definitely seemed like a lower budget production.
Yeah.
I looked it up, and this is 50 years old.
Jeez.
Which is interesting. But you can kind of tell, because movies, I'm going to get so much hate for this, but... to me personally, about 99% of the movies that exist that are that old are so dry. Like, they're so boring. And I feel like there's something my grandparents would watch, because it almost, like, is the horror equivalent of, like, a 1970s British show.
Are you saying that you
dryness
don't thoroughly
category.
enjoy Faulty Towers and
Never seen it.
I love Faulty Towers.
But listen, if you have anything negative to say about Are You Being Served, we're gonna throw hands.
I also love
Never
that.
seen that.
What? Okay, girl. First of all, it's the greatest comedy show of all time.
Oh, is it a British show?
Yes.
Okay.
It's like about a department store.
Oh, okay.
And it was very, like, ahead of its time and, like, very funny and
But
edgy.
you know how, like, British folks, like, their shows can be really dry?
Oh, absolutely.
It just reminds me of that.
Shout out to our British folk.
I'm just
we
saying,
have some
that's
British
like
listeners.
British like in my experience, I guess, they have a totally different sense of humor than people here for the most part.
Just remember, British listeners, that me and Mike love you.
I'm not saying I don't love them. I have a dry sense of humor, but maybe not that dry.
Jeez.
What? It's not a burn, it's just a statement.
Sometimes your statements are just burns.
Oh my god. Also, shout out to our favorite British listener, Heather.
Oh, yes.
McKill. Her and I, well, mine hasn't arrived yet because I chose surface shipping, which apparently means it goes on a fucking cargo ship and gets shipped across the Atlantic Ocean. But we've exchanged candy, so I got her candy from Canada.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
Yeah, and
that's
she got
really
me candy
cool,
from the
yeah.
UK. It was really cool. I really had a lot of fun trying out the different stuff. Honestly, of it I had
British
never heard
candy
of.
is really cool. I might not be a fan of a lot of like British foods, but like their candy is really good.
It's really good. It tastes like real candy. Like I find so much like North American candies really can be artificial tasting.
Yeah. Well, I find this is sort of like the id ego super ego of candies in North America and the UK. So I feel like on one end you have the British candy, and that's like the like super ego, and then on the other end, you have American candy, which is like the id, and then in the middle, you have Canadian candy because it balances it out. I feel like
True.
We have the quirkiness of the British candy, but it's tempered by the severe...
Like mass production.
Mass-produced, severely commercial, watered down, we don't want to, like, actually take any chances American candy.
Yeah, definitely.
So, you know, I feel like we're sort of, like, that halfway point, so that's why I feel like Canadian and British candy are superior, but Canadian candy is inferior in a way because it's tempered by that everything has to be milk chocolate. You know what I mean?
It's true.
Yeah.
Well, and that's like something, sorry, this is totally off topic, but people might think is interesting. And it made me feel like I was like traveling without traveling. But there's two big differences I noticed. One is that they have a lot more of a variety of candies.
Yeah.
And they have a lot more like little things and where we just we'll have like a whole bag of like one thing. This like massive bag. And they seem to like a lot of candies. Like for instance, she refers to them as hard-boiled candies, but they're basically like what your nan would have in like a dish.
Oh yeah, like a hard candy.
Yeah, and like that's not really, I feel like that's not really popular here anymore. Like your nan has it, and that's like why you know it. And then
but you don't generally have a dish of candy out that is like not wrapped and is all, you know, stuck together in one big giant lump, which is how you think of those hard-boiled candies, right? Yeah.
True. And then the other thing is their chocolate is better. And so the main reason she sent this is for Karamak bars, and they're fucking delicious. Probably the best bar I've ever had. I opened it up and my first reaction was like, whoa, this is a weird color. It's like a caramel color, and Rowan said the exact same thing. And yeah, I just find their chocolate like much better.
So I'm not gonna wait till closer to the end of the podcast to just talk about what we really want to talk about for a little bit here. The goddamn score.
Oh my god.
I mean, anyone that listens to us regularly knows that you can be a terrible movie and just have a great soundtrack, and
I'm not gonna lie, I cannot remember what it sounded like.
It really breaks my heart. Because, yeah, this soundtrack was amazing, or score, or whatever you want to call it.
I have to let everybody know I have the world's worst memory.
This is very true.
So even reviewing it is really a struggle for me because I'm like, what even happened?
We did watch this, last week?
I mean, even if it was yesterday.
Yeah, that's
like,
also
what
true.
Happened?
But yeah, the score, incredible. I don't even know if it's necessarily fitting of the film. It is and it isn't. It's just like amazing.
Okay, but here's the thing. It's not about whether it's fitting for the film, because it was so quintessentially 70s. So I feel like every movie made in the early 70s and late 60s had a similar, like, style of score.
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say, one way to, pull the strings on my heart is it definitely had, like, Italian horror score vibe. I was like, this would be, like, the only way this could be improved if it was, like, Goblin or something doing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, but it's those kind of vibes. Like, it was just awesome. Like, I didn't even necessarily care what was going on in the film whenever the score was playing. I was just, like, enthralled with it.
Yeah.
And, absolutely loved it. And Mike broke my heart when he said you just can't buy it unless you want to pay a large amount of money.
I mean, my quick Googling afterwards did yield results from Discogs, but that's, like, literally vintage 70s vinyl. And it was, like they were selling between $200 and, like, $350. So, it's essentially an absolute collector's item. I don't know why Mondo or somebody, we love at Mondo News, doesn't just reissue it. Like, that needs to be put out on vinyl, like, special edition, colored vinyl, the colors of, like, the water, maybe, or the sky, like...
I would buy it. I really, really enjoyed it.
I'd like to comment on something I really enjoyed from the set design.
Of course.
Jessica's bed sheets and her pillowcases. My favorite thing about... I should have said that as my favorite scene. My favorite thing about this whole movie was that...
Was the bedding.
The bedding. I want it. That's all I can say.
Yeah, bedsheet makers. Why isn't there any special edition?
I mean, that's something you'd have to find at, like, Value Village, I feel. Or, like, your nan has to give it to you for some reason. Because she has extra sheets. I don't know.
Because she has extra sheets.
And that's what my nanny does.
Yeah, I can't overly remember what the bedding looked like, but I'm sure it was your style.
Green and white, and I think there's some orange, and it was like psychedelic, like 1960s, 70s, like flowers.
It's weird really that I didn't pay attention to that, because usually that's the type of detail that would, like, really...
Yeah, it was nice.
Something you'd be into.
I liked it.
What I want to know is if your wife has left the institution and, they deemed her, I guess, sane or whatever in this film, do you promote her having the hobby of tracing gravestones?
It's grave rubbing.
First thing she did, she jumped out of the fucking car and was like, let's do some gravestone rubbings, bitch. Like,
and then she, like, decorated their room in them.
I feel like once she jumps out of the car to do that, and the minute she leaves, you're just kind of like, well, now we turn the car around.
To be fair, while she was, and by to be fair, I mean, this is ridiculous, while she's putting the rubbing up literally over the already hideous wallpaper in their bedroom, her husband is lying in bed watching her, and while he's very relaxed and laissez-faire and cavalier about it, he does have a concerned look on his face while she's putting up the grave rubbing. So I guess in his own way he was concerned.
I think like that's an interesting... I'm not gonna, like, wreck my, like, rating, but I really like the basic concept of this movie. And I really like the idea of, like, is she, like, quote unquote okay? Like, this, like, whole dichotomy between, like, sanity and insanity.
Yeah.
And then, like, the relationship between her and particularly her husband of just being the person that is kind of taking care of somebody who is delusional, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the dynamics of that. I think I identify with that.
But you're
very
right.
Interesting.
And I thought that the fact that they really kind of went out of their way to not say what the particulars were of her, let's call it an incarceration in this institution. Like, they don't say particularly, like, did she have a breakdown? Like,
I think in the bio you read, though, it says she had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, but, like, I don't think they explicitly...
In the movie.
But, like, what Letterboxd says is, to me, I don't remember there specifically being explicit dialogue. Because I was trying to figure out, like, did she, like, try to kill herself? Or, did she try to kill somebody else? Or did she just, like, just lose her shit, in the mall, or what?
I think, like, maybe nervous breakdown was put in that bio in, like, ignorance to mental health.
Yeah, like a broad
You know what
term.
that means?
Yeah.
Whatever she had, like, there was definitely, like, hallucinations and stuff involved. So to me, that signals that there's something, like, more serious going on.
Yeah, like a chronic schizophrenia or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, I thought the basic concept of the, like, mental illness aspect was really interesting.
Me too. No, because I feel like that was, spoiler alert, I adored this movie. I will say right now. And one of the reasons I found it fascinating, and I've been thinking about it, like, for days and days and days, but that is it. Like, I feel like it's so central to the plot that she's fresh out of an asylum, and, like, there's that element of ambiguity because she says herself in her voiceover, is this real? Is it happening again? So she's saying, I don't know if I trust me, and so the viewer shouldn't trust me.
Yeah.
But I found that, like, to be the most interesting aspect of this movie in many ways.
Definitely.
Because, and I feel like it's the treatment of mental illness, bizarrely for a 70s era horror movie, isn't exploitative. Like, she has her moments, obviously, where she questions it and stuff, but, like, I truly feel like they didn't other her or, exploit her in any way, which was a really cool aspect of the movie, I think.
I love a good unreliable narrator.
Yes, that was literally my first line of my notes, was her voiceover. She specifically calls herself out and says, like, I'm not a reliable narrator.
I did want to comment on, like, the mental health aspect, because it's kind of interesting, because until you said something now about it, I didn't overly really start thinking really heavily. I think I was only doing surface level thinking on the film, but I think one of the interesting aspects of it was kind of not necessarily from her point of view, but like the husband's point of view of what it's like to take care of someone, not necessarily like just general mental health issues, but like maybe has severe enough that like they're institutionalized or something. Just cause I like I've talked about before, like I work in a facility where people are, they're not committed anymore. They're sent to.
Yeah.
Now, she's a lot higher functioning than anyone that I would deal with in my job, but you see interactions between not just like families, but in terms of like parents or brothers, sisters, which I see most of, but you do see like people that are in there that have or had like wives or husbands or kids or whatever. And I just think it's a very interesting, thing to kind of look at. And I think the film kind of deals with it in its own way. Cause it kind of made me think about like, when like my grandfather went into a nursing home and he has dementia and stuff, that even if immediately my grandmother doesn't see it that way, I feel like anyone from an outside almost doesn't see that relationship anymore of like husband and wife. It's more of
like
just
a
caregiver, which you see a lot of, because when there's stuff like dementia, like it's very common for families to be like, oh, like the caregiver should like go find love or go find someone else because that person's not capable of doing it anymore, but there's a history there.
I think any sort of like disease or disorder that really severely affects someone's mind.
Yeah.
I think the dynamics of that in a relationship are really interesting. I think it's really like heartbreaking.
Yeah, and it is. And that's why I'm saying I think it's interesting that whether it was meant to or not, that they kind of looked at that, because we got that aspect with him having like the wandering eye, even though, we kind of know she's like, or we're told by the narration that, she's this vampire. And
what's the ethics of doing that? You know what I mean? What's the morality surrounding like having a wife who may or may not be having a break with reality and then like cheating on her with a vampire ghost that's at your house? Like,
the ethics probably aren't very good when you've taken them out.
Well, yes, but at the same time, that was one of my my major comments on this movie that I thought was very interesting was that you're not getting this from his perspective. Is very, right from the beginning, is very much like this is her point of view, and like all we have to go by is her voiceover narration.
Right.
And in her voiceover narration, she seems very cavalier about it, and I thought that was another note I had, that it was very much like kind of your 70s, like almost like a coming out of the 60s with free love.
Yeah.
And she seemed kind of like okay with it in a way. She seemed very much like, oh, he finds her attractive, and you know, she didn't seem upset by it or jealous. Like, she just seemed to sort of go like, oh yeah, I can tell he finds her attractive. And part of me was thinking, like, is this coming off of that like kind of dying out 60s free love attitude? Or is it her, you know, being severely still traumatized from whatever and mentally ill and, you know, not standing up for herself? And that's what I think is so funny about, like, it being an early 70s film, is that it's very ambiguous as to, like, is this just a free love? Or is it her, you know, kind of like going, I guess my husband's cheating, like, you know, he's taking care of me, I don't deserve any more than this.
Yeah, I have a couple like comments / ideas about that. I had never considered that it was like the remnants of like free love in like the 60s, but they are hippies.
Yeah, and I mean,
so
and they moved up there, and to me, the reason that was such an important part of that, and that's why I kept thinking like she must be okay with it, because they're a bit more kind of like loosey-goosey with their, you know, arrangements, was the fact that it was not her and her husband and like a mother or a brother or something. It was her and her husband and their friend
Woody.
And I thought that was a really interesting arrangement, you know, him being like obviously a close friend of both of them, and then moving up there together, and it's almost like they were both helping to take care of her, and they were this like you know, like a nuclear family unit sort of twisted into like the 60s sort of like laissez-faire, you know.
But there is a scene where the two guys are talking, and I can't remember exactly what was said, but the friend was basically like, whatever he said was implied to be disapproving of him sleeping with the other woman.
Okay.
Maybe that has nothing to do with her perspective, but at least he seemed disapproving of it.
Yeah, like their friend Woody, I know his name because, I loved him. I
like Woody, we stan. I was totally going into his IMDb the whole time I was watching it.
Giving me strong, young Donald Sutherland vibes.
Really? I thought he looked like the guy that plays Don in Dazed and Confused.
Oh, he definitely did, who was also in the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
He was. And that mustache, it was so... that's literally one of my notes is, oh my god, like, Woody's mustache.
Caterpillar.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, like, in that conversation, I remember, because he basically says, he's like, what are you doing? Like, you're helping her, that's your wife.
Yeah, it's like, take care of your wife.
But there's I agree kind of with what Mike was saying. Like, it was just these interesting, like, remnants of the 60s and hippies, because, I mean, pretty much 10 minutes into it, I was like, this is, like, heavy, like, Swinner vibes. Like, I felt they were free love. And even though, like, he tries to pursue, Emily, who is the vampire, or we think is a vampire, even though he kind of pursues her, I mean, we're kept being reminded that I think Woody has, it seemed to me, feelings for the lead. Like,
really? Because
after he's rejected by Emily, he kind of switches his attention to her as the husband is switching his attention to Emily. And then he's like really caring, but like getting closer and closer and kind of being...
Maybe because he feels bad for her and then they just develop a bond.
Yeah, I thought it was just...
I thought it was very like platonic. And like platonic, but like sort of with a, you know, obviously vaguely patriarchal, like protective element to it. But, you know, I thought that he, you know, was sort of there, like, almost as, to me it screamed throuple. This relationship between the characters screamed throuple. I say that in the best way. Like, I just thought, like, hey, this is really cool. They're kind of like, maybe not like overly sexual or whatever, but I just feel like it was a third person in their relationship. Mm-hmm. Like, they just seemed so close, and I thought that was really cool. I thought it was like a really cool dynamic, you know?
And then my other thing about it was the whole movie, she kind of reminded me of a kid, and she was very like deer caught in the headlights kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. And she'd be like, oh yeah, I love this, and like, and I know some people that are like hippies, and I know that's kind of like
family.
I know that's kind of like, oh, they tend to be flighty, but I don't know, she just seemed like mentally she was like 10 years old.
Emily was really intriguing to me because I don't know. I mean, Exilia hasn't seen it yet, which every listener.
This was Jessica.
Oh, you're talking about.
Yeah, she just was like, oh yeah, I went in the water, and it was like, the way she talked about it was like a way a child would talk about it.
Oh yeah, because she had that like, and she had the voice, like,
yeah, and she was just like, and her eyes were like dead.
I guess what I was gonna say isn't anything but what you were saying there. But I was gonna say, just because, you know, and listeners, gasp, hold your hands over your mouth as you gasp widely. We've already talked about it. Exilia has never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Not the original. I do want to, though.
But I thought the whole time, and I don't know what you thought, Mike, but I really wondered if Tobe Hooper was, like, inspired by this, because Emily gave me, like, the Hitchhiker vibes.
No,
I'm.
It's so funny that you bring that up, because the whole time I was watching this, and I keep talking about that, like, how it seems to me like the death of the 60s in the early 70s. So, like, going from the hippie vibe to the, like, dark, disaffected 70s, because obviously that's the vibe you get from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The whole time I was watching it, I was like, this is giving me Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like, the decay of kind of, like, both the traditional, you know, nuclear family, but then also of the, like, free love, communal living, like, vibe of, like, the 60s and stuff, into a more, like, Charles Manson sort of, like, this was a lie, and, you know, like, the kind of more like how in the 70s everything was like really dangerous, and you know, it went from like trust everybody and live as a giant group in like harmony to
stranger danger.
Yeah, stranger danger. You break down out in the woods, and you know, you're gonna get murdered by this bunch of, you know, cannibals who are a fucking byproduct of mid-century American capitalism shitting out, you know, anything that wasn't like mass produced, you know, like industrial bullshit.
Well, I'm definitely glad I wasn't the only one that thought that, because I definitely got heavy vibes, even with, like, the camera work and cinematography.
For sure.
I was like, just that kind. I mean, and it could just be, like, the low budget feel or whatever, but I thought it was spectacular in the similarities. I did want to say, if I'm Jessica, just go with Woody, ditch the husband. I mean, unattractive, yeah. I'm gonna say yeah.
Who, Woody? Are you out of your mind? Oh.
The husband.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I co-sign that.
Yeah, the husband's also, even when he's nice, kind of a dick.
Kind of.
And you know what? It's so funny because, like, I thought the same thing, and I was like, but they do make reference a couple times to, like, how much he sacrificed and how he gave up everything for this place. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I get why he would be sort of like, okay, this needs to work, and kind of like, let's get down to business, let's, you know, get you feeling good and stuff like that. But also then I flip that and go, also, fuck you, it doesn't matter how much you gave up, like, this is your wife's mental health and physical health, you know, really, that is at stake. So, you know, I'm feeling all sorts of ways about it.
We do have this ancient vampire and all this stuff going on, but for some reason, to me, the most iconic thing when I keep thinking about this film is that damn gas mask in the, like, the tractor with the
when they're spraying
the chemicals,
pesticide or whatever it is.
Yeah, love the visual of that. Especially where like I've never seen anything that old, like a pesticide sprayer, and I was just like, man, this is like a really cool device that I almost wish they used more of. I kind of thought
except for like the environment.
Well, yeah. No, but I mean in the movie.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of thought they were going to, like, because they did that whole thing when they first bring it out, and it's like, oh, be careful, even though Jessica just, like, runs through it.
I know, but that's, like, a lack of follow-through, in my opinion, on, like, that point.
Yeah, I guess.
Absolutely.
But, like, and I also, like, I love that when Woody's killed and she, like, sees him on the tractor.
Well, I mean, that first whole scene, which is very beautiful, you know, with him being with the gas mask on and stuff, is obviously, you know, a foreshadow to that, also, like, spine-chilling scene, you know, at the end. Because, honestly, you, like, at the end, you're not really, like, depending on the husband. I mean, if you're me, you're not really depending on the husband to save her from whatever it is, you know, whether they be actual external threats or the threat of her, you know, disordered mind against itself. But you keep, and I think that's what's so interesting about that dynamic is I kept rooting for, like, Woody. I was like, Woody will be there for her. You know what I mean? Like, this husband is very much like, oh, here's, you know, I'm being very practical about it, and here's what I gave up, and we need to figure out how we're going to eat. But Woody was like, let's just do it, you know, free love. And to me, when she, you know, the husband was, like, in the water at the end, that was not even, like, that was anticlimactic. The greatest part in that climactic scene, to me, was that callback with him on the tractor, because to me that was more devastating than seeing the husband's dead body in the water.
Yeah.
Was seeing him, you know, like, slumped over on that tractor, and it was such a beautifully shot scene, and the imagery was just very, like, shocking.
So, did we find it unsettling? Mike?
I think it's safe to say that I did. I have not been able to stop thinking about it since I watched it, and I'm a big fan, and kind of like as we were talking earlier, like, you know, obviously in transparency, like, a lot of us have had, you know, varying degrees of, like, mental health issues, and I sort of have always, like, identified with / been interested in, you know, narratives that involve somebody who feels like they can't trust themselves, or, you know, says, like, oh, you know, like, I have this stigma of mental illness, like, you know, am I reliable? And to me, that was the great strength of this film, was you're watching it and you don't know what's happening, and, like, the title says, let's scare Jessica to death, which implies some sort of, like, external like, it's not paranoia, it implies that there is a, like, plot, I guess, for lack of a better word, to scare her. And so actually, while I was watching it for a lot of the time, until the whole vampire thing started happening, I thought everything that was happening, the, like, you know, old photo she found that looked a lot like Emily, I just thought that was a plant, and I thought, like, are they actually exploiting her mental illness? And to me, all those sort of elements meshed together were, like, so fucking creepy, and I found it so unsettling as somebody who has felt in the past, like, can I trust my own senses? Can I trust my own perception of the world? You know, and, like, maybe some people can't relate to that, but I feel like there are a lot of people who have felt at some point in their lives, whether they've suffered, like, a severe breakdown or whatever, you know, can I trust my perception of what is happening, you know? And, like, to me, that was what made it very unsettling, was I thought it was a really weirdly subtle exploration of what is happening versus what is being perceived.
I thought that aspect of it was really unsettling, just like, what is reality, and not knowing, and knowing enough that you're not able to trust your perception, and knowing that, like, something's happening. Like, I guess you were talking about your grandfather having dementia. My grandmother has dementia, and, like, it's like when it first starts and you know that something's wrong, but you have an altered perception of reality also.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was unsettling when I watched it. The more I think about it, I think it unsettles me more. Interesting enough, kind of like you said, Mike, I feel like when I watched it, I gave it a watch, I mean, you'll find out soon what I thought of it. But I said to Exilia in the car today, I said, I really, don't necessarily know what I'm gonna rate it. I keep thinking about it.
Yeah.
It literally has been on my brain since we watched it. Like I said, we watched it a week ago, and I've still been thinking about it and processing it. I'll say it in summary that, yeah, I think the after effects of it, and when you think about it more, are definitely unsettling.
Well, I mean, that's what, to me, that's, a kind of powerful art, is it's not, what did I think about it right after I walked out of it? It's not like you're leaving a theater and then going, oh, here's what I think about it, and that's it. It's, literally a week later, you keep going, oh, but what about this? And what about that? You know what I mean? And you kind of keep, questioning your own judgment of it.
Yeah. Now, before we get into the rating, I was a terrible host and totally forgot to do something, which is we didn't do the Bechdel test.
I totally forgot about it.
I remembered it. So, Exilia...
Okay.
So, Exilia...
We're not putting you on the spot or anything, but...
no, but what I'm
Bechdel
saying... I'm saying, Exilia,
Rowan,
for the listeners, give them the explanation.
Oh my good god. So the Bechdel test is, you need to just take a clip from me before insert here. The Bechdel test is assessment of the dimensionality of women in media. Basically, is there more than one woman? I think that's what it is. Is there more than one woman? Do they talk more? Yes, because I always fuck this up. Are there more than one woman? Are there more than one woman? Is there more than one woman? Is there more than one woman? That's what it is. Do they talk together about something other than a man or a relationship? Are they named? And then for me, is it intersection? Is it intersectionally informed?
So, I don't know what your opinions are on it. I'm gonna say it doesn't hit every category, but I think it passes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not... They're named. There's more than one.
They discuss things other than the men.
Yeah. And frankly, I think that even though obviously... because again, the Bechdel test is not scientific, it's just kind of a rough rubric. I feel when I watched it that it passed with flying colors because there are huge chunks of it, and a lot of the emotional thrust is this relationship between the two women, right? And a lot of it is actually explicitly happens when the men are not around, and it's how they interact with each other and how they relate to each other. And I feel like that's very important. And actually, the only people whose names I remember in the whole movie are Emily and Jessica. I don't even remember Woody's name. I will remember tertiary, but the husband's name, still don't remember it.
I mean, it fails in the intersectionality category, but otherwise, and that's just an informal thing.
Yeah, and I mean, there's 5 characters in the whole movie. That's going to be a real rough one to call.
So I think it passes.
Yeah, on the very core aspect, which is kind of female interaction outside of the sphere of male influence.
Yeah.
Then yeah,
I like this. Exilia thinks it passes. What do the men think, though?
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Disregard us talking about women.
So now I think if you guys are, I'm comfortable to rate it. So if you are new to our show, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. Let's start with Mike.
Okay, well, clearly this is not a surprise, but I am going to have to give it an absolute slay. I have wanted to watch this for years, and I had seen a couple bits and bobs of it and watched the first half hour or so in stops and starts years ago, but when we sort of decided to do it for the podcast, that was my first time sitting down and watching it in whole. And again, that was about a week ago, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it since. It's always on my mind. I have a coworker of mine who is actually a big horror fan, and he's older than I am, so he has seen a lot of the older movies, and I mentioned to him we watched this movie, and he had a lot to say about it. It was I every person that I engage with on this, I have things to talk about, and I think that there's so much of it. I know there's problems with it, and it's corny and there's plot holes and it's like almost painfully 70s, but those are also strengths because I find like the set design is really interesting, the acting is really unusual, which I guess comes from like a lot of them having theater backgrounds, and the music is absolutely crazy and really 70s, but like so memorable, and everything about it, like I feel like the mental disillusion plot of it is really well done and like bizarrely sensitive and not exploitative. I just feel like every aspect of it gels with every other aspect, and it does the most important thing that art can ask of you, which is to keep thinking about it and keep wanting to talk about it. And that has been me for this entire week. So I am saying slay, slay, slay. I cannot wait to watch it again. I'm going to show it to everybody I know, and I want to keep talking about it. What about you guys?
All right, well, I'll go next, because I know we will save Exilia for last. See what she has to say. But, so like I said, I really, until today, didn't know what I was gonna go in giving this. I watched the trailer, when you said this was your pick, and I can't necessarily say I was overly excited, and I was just kind of like, okay, like, this looks like it's from the 70s, and, you know, that's all I really thought. But after talking about it, and like I said, continuously kind of thinking about it all week, I'm actually going to give it a yay. I totally expected it to give it less than that. But I think it gave me, you know, stuff to think about. And as we've kind of talked tonight about it, it makes me want to rewatch it and kind of reevaluate different themes in it and see what I can pull out of it. And then, like we said, kind of at the very beginning, just, I mean, you could literally just watch this for the score. It's so good, and it gets me so excited. So yeah, I am gonna give it a yay. Exilia.
Okay. I really liked the basic concept of it. I think it's interesting, and I would enjoy watching something that, like, further explored that. It reminded me of Eyes of Laura Mars. The vibe of it was...
You can stop, so it's gonna be a sleigh.
Yeah, was similar to me, like the pacing, and I just feel like maybe that's not the kind of movie I like. I also found the plot really, I found everything really predictable. I never try to predict things, and Rowan always gets mad because he'll be like, what do you think's happening? I was like, I don't know, just enjoy the ride. But I knew what was gonna happen. This movie was called Let's Scare Jessica to Death. It should have been called Let's Bore Exilia to Death. Because I'm glad it wasn't longer than it was. Going into this, I was like, undoubtedly it's gonna be a nay. But talking about it, I like it a little bit more than, like, before. I guess my thing hinges on would I watch it again? Would I actively go and watch it again? No.
Well, thank you for clearing that up for us.
I think I would be somewhere in between a nay and an okay.
You gotta give one.
If you like,
can she call it a no-K?
A no-K.
A no-K.
We've invented a new category. It's a no-K.
A nay point.
I'll put
5
for the aspect of liking the general, like, basic concept. I'll give it a soft yay. No, my God. A soft okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna say, based on our snippets of conversation before we started recording, I just assumed you were gonna, like, literally take a hot steam and dump all over it. So,
I could have.
Yeah. But I also feel like I can sense you having, like, literally just in the recording of this, I could feel you softening to it. I felt like you were, the whole time we were recording, you were, like, maybe sort of reconsidering some of your opinions on it.
Reassessing it. I was.
So I feel like you do need to do another rewatch, but, like, I feel like, you know, all of our opinions are valid, and I understand, like, it's fine. I just personally, there were elements of it personally that, like, really struck me, and so I felt very strongly about it.
I just think that kind of vibe of a movie, it just isn't for me, I feel.
Oh, and I love that, like, kind of, like, just fucking tripped out, like, sun-dappled, late 60s, early 70s hippie, like, I knew as soon as that was the vibe, I was like, I am fucking for this, like, Her fucking voiceover narration is like, yeah, it's giving me life.
Exilia was gonna hard dookie all over it, and me and Mike just were the stool softeners. So we have a slay, a yay, and a nay-kay.
A soft okay.
A soft okay.
Listen, we'll give it a, like, median okay. With maybe a little notch above that, but anyway, thank you.
So, let's get into the budget game. This is where I know how much the movie cost to made, and Mike and Exilia guess to the death. I
truly don't have any concept of how much movies cost back then.
Listen, neither do I. I usually end up getting crashing and burning on this. Like,
well,
it's a mixed bag.
So what I'll say is, for the cost, it is an estimated. I will say I got two different answers.
Is it adjusted for inflation?
I'm not sure. And the made figure is for opening weekend. That's the only one that exists. So we'll start with cost. How much money do you think this film cost to make?
$100,000.
$100,000. Mike?
I was actually gonna say about, like, between $175,000 and $200,000.
Alright, so Mike is gonna take it.
Oh.
So the film, from my Wikipedia finding...
Mike's pretending to balk.
Listen, no, I need to take my victories where I can.
The Wikipedia finding said $250,000.
Oh, wow.
IMDb had $180,000, but it said estimated. So I just went with 250 sounded right to me. So definitely a lower budget film, which, you know, maybe that's why it gave me those, like, Texas Chainsaw vibes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what it made. We will start with you, Mike.
I'm gonna say $400,000.
$400,000 on opening weekend. All right. Remember, it's opening weekend numbers. I like this high bid.
$20,000.
$20,000. So we have quite a difference here. So Exilia will take it.
Exilia takes it with $20,000. Okay.
So it made $47,651 opening weekend. So I'm assuming a very limited release. But yeah, I did want to briefly, before we kind of wrap it up, say that if you are interested in seeing it, there is a great Scream Factory release of it, which I will be buying. So maybe Exilia will get that second viewing.
Oh, great.
Because I gotta own the Blu-ray. But I think that's everything for now. Our next movie, I know we're all excited. It's one of our, probably our, number 2 favorite time of the year?
Oh my
Halloween,
God,
obviously,
yes.
the first. But it is our month of Pride Week, or Pride Month. Our month of Pride.
It's our month of Pride Week.
It is Pride Month. So we get to do sweet Pride picks. We have 2 that are going to be awesome. And then one of them will have a guest. I think Exilia is going to announce our first Pride pick.
So Mike and I decided that we were going to share a pick, and
in a rare moment of agreement.
Camaraderie.
The Shade Brigade came together.
This is the Shade Brigade's official Pride pick.
Yeah.
We picked Jennifer's Body.
Also, our taste. Also, for anybody who's been listening, you will totally get the Easter egg of our pick, which is that we 3 love the OC, and there is an OC alum in our pick.
This is very true. I'm very excited for this. But I think that is everything for this episode. So we will see you in Pride Month, or we will be talking to you in Pride Month. As always, I am your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Exilia.
It's Mike. See ya.
See you later.
We're going to expand our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
On with the new fletch. The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
We've got to return some videotapes.